You are the most reliable person in the room, and that is why you are the loneliest person on earth. Look at your hands. They are worn thin from carrying the weight of problems that never belong to you. You are the one who answers the phone at 3 in the morning. You are the one who stays late to fix a mistake you did not make. You are the one who remembers everyone's birthday, their favorite coffee, and their deepest fears, while they struggle to remember your last name when you are not standing right in front of them. You have spent your entire life building a reputation for being the bridge, the safety net, and the anchor. But there is a dark, clinical truth that no one wants to tell you. People do not fall in love with bridges. They just walk over them to get to where they actually want to go. When you make yourself infinitely useful, you stop being a human being in the eyes of the world. You become a utility. You become a light switch. No one thanks the light switch for the glow. They only complain when the bulb finally burns out. This is the curse of the high-value servant. You have traded your soul for the crumbs of appreciation, thinking that if you just do one more favor, if you just solve one more crisis, they will finally see you, they will finally love you, but they won't. In the hierarchy of the human psyche, the one who gives everything is always positioned at the bottom, because the world assumes that if your time and energy were actually valuable, you wouldn't be giving them away for free. You are currently trapped in a cycle of emotional debt where you are the only one paying the interest. You feel a heavy, hollow ache in your chest every time you say yes when your soul is screaming no. That ache is not exhaustion. It is the sound of your true self being buried alive under the expectations of people who would replace you in a heartbeat if you stopped being convenient. Today, we are going to dig you out. We are going to perform a cold, calculated surgery on your need to be needed. We are going to expose the scientific mechanisms of why your kindness is being treated like a weakness, and why your path to power begins with the one thing you fear most, becoming absolutely useless to the wrong people. Think back to the very first time you felt the rush of being the good child. Perhaps you were 5 years old. You saw your mother crying or your father stressed, and you realized that if you stayed quiet, if you cleaned your room without being asked, or if you performed a small act of service, the tension in the house would drop. In that moment, your primitive brain made a dangerous calculation. It decided that your safety and your worth were tied directly to your utility. You learned that love was not a birthright, it was a transaction. This is the birth of the human tool. As you grew, this mechanism hardened. You became an expert at reading the room. You can sense a shift in someone's mood from across the hallway. You are a professional at walking on eggshells, so much so that you have forgotten how it feels to stand on solid ground. This hypervigilance is not a gift, it is a trauma response. You are constantly scanning for threats, and the biggest threat you perceive is someone being unhappy with you. This fear has turned you into a shapeshifter. In every relationship, you mold yourself into the piece that is missing. If they are weak, you are strong. If they are chaotic, you are the calm. You have become so good at being what they need that you no longer know who you are when you are alone. This is the hidden trauma of the bridge. You are hollow inside because you have given all your internal materials to build a path for others. From a scientific perspective, you are addicted to a specific type of social dopamine. Every time someone tells you thank you, or you are a lifesaver, your brain gets a small hit. But it is a cheap, dirty high. It fades within minutes, leaving you more depleted than before. You are like a battery that is being recharged by a charger that also drains 60% of your capacity every time it is plugged in. You are running on 5%, and yet you are still trying to power the entire house. The world looks at you and sees a saint. But if we look through the lens of dark psychology, we see a victim who has volunteered for their own exploitation. You have taught people that your boundaries are made of paper, and you are surprised when they keep stepping through them. You have set a market price for your soul at $0, and you are offended when people treat you like you are cheap. This is the visible behavior of the martyr. But underneath it lies a deep, pulsating fear of abandonment. You believe that if you stop being useful, you will be discarded. And the most painful part of this surgery is realizing that you are right. Many of the people in your life do not want you. They want what you do for them. The moment you stop being the bridge, they will find another way to cross the river, and they will not look back to see if you are okay. This is not a tragedy, it is a filter. It is the moment you find out who actually sees the human behind the tool. Now let us look at the predators who live among us. There is a specific type of individual who can smell your usefulness from miles away. They are not looking for a partner, they are looking for a host. In the world of dark psychology, these people are the ultimate consumers. They do not have the internal resources to regulate their own lives, so they seek out the reliable ones. They find the person who can't say no, and they begin to harvest them. They start with small favors, testing the thickness of your skin, a borrowed $5 that is never returned, a ride to the airport on your only day off, a vent session that lasts 4 hours where they don't ask you a single question about your life. If you provide these things without friction, you have just signed an invisible contract. You have agreed to be their emotional trash can and their logistical safety net. These predators use a technique called the foot in the door phenomenon. Once they have secured one small yes, the psychological cost for you to say no to a larger request becomes exponentially higher. You feel a sense of cognitive dissonance. You think to yourself, I have already helped them so much. If I stop now, all that previous effort was for nothing. So you keep going. You throw good energy after bad, trying to reach a finish line that doesn't exist. This is how the exploitation works on a social level. Our culture glorifies the selfless worker and the giving friend. We are told from birth that it is better to give than to receive. But the predators have flipped this script. They use your morality as a leash. They know that you have a high internal standard for yourself, so they weaponize your own conscience against you. They say things like, I thought I could count on you, or I didn't think you were like the others. These are not observations, they are hooks. They are designed to pull on your guilt, which is the engine that keeps the bridge from collapsing. You are being farmed for your empathy. Think about a cow in a pasture. The farmer does not hate the cow, but he does not love it either. He values the milk. The moment the milk dries up, the cow's value drops to the price of its meat. This is exactly how the users in your life view you. You are a resource to be managed, not a person to be cherished. If you died tomorrow, they would be at your funeral for 30 minutes, crying not for you, but for the loss of the convenience you provided. Then they would go home and start looking for someone else to pick up the slack. This realization is cold. It is sharp. It should make you angry. But anger is the first sign of life in a dying ego. It is the immune system of the soul, finally waking up to the infection of exploitation. You have been a spectator in your own life, watching everyone else get what they want while you settle for the leftovers of your own energy. Let us examine the hard data and the scientific evidence of why this happens. There is a psychological concept known as the Ben Franklin effect, but most people understand it backwards. Conventional wisdom says that we do favors for people we like, but science shows that we actually grow to like people more after we do a favor for them. Why? Because the brain needs to justify its own actions. If I spend 4 hours helping you move your furniture, my brain says, I wouldn't do this for someone I don't care about. Therefore, I must like this person. However, look at the inverse of this rule. When you are the one constantly doing favors for others, you are the one whose brain is being tricked into liking them more. Meanwhile, the recipient of your favor is not doing any work. Their brain is not justifying anything. In fact, if you do too many favors, a phenomenon called the over-justification effect kicks in. They start to perceive your kindness as your default state. It becomes a baseline. It is no longer a gift, it is an obligation. Scientifically, you are lowering your own status in the social hierarchy. In every animal kingdom, the high-status individuals are those who are served, and the low-status individuals are those who serve. When you constantly make yourself available, you are signaling to the collective subconscious that your time is worth nothing. You are activating the reward centers in their brains without requiring any investment from them. You are essentially giving them free hits of comfort and convenience. This creates a parasitic relationship rather than a symbiotic one. Furthermore, there is a biological cost to your utility. High levels of chronic people-pleasing are linked to elevated cortisol levels. Because you are always on edge, always trying to anticipate the needs of others, your nervous system never leaves the sympathetic state. You are in a permanent state of light-scale fight or flight. You aren't fighting a tiger, you are fighting the possibility of a frown on a coworker's face. This constant cortisol soak weakens your immune system, disrupts your sleep, and leads to what psychologists call compassion fatigue. You eventually reach a point of emotional bankruptcy where you have nothing left to give to yourself. You are a shell of a person walking around in a suit of reliability. Case studies of burnt-out professionals show that those who are labeled as the office heroes are the most likely to suffer from severe depression and physical illness. They are the ones who never took a sick day until the day their body simply shut down and refused to move. The brain will eventually protect itself by forcing a collapse. That burnout you are feeling is not a sign that you need to work harder on your time management. It is a biological emergency signal telling you that your current identity is unsustainable. You are trying to be a god of service while living in a mortal body. The Stoic masters had a name for what you are doing. They called it a form of vanity. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations that many people seek the praise of others to fill a void that only they can fill themselves. You think you are being humble, but your constant service is actually a quiet, desperate attempt to control how other people see you. You are trying to buy an insurance policy against being disliked. But the Stoic antidote is brutal and liberating. You must embrace the power of being useless to the world's demands. True freedom is not having 1,000 people who can count on you. True freedom is having the courage to be the villain in someone else's story because you chose to prioritize your own soul. The Stoic virtue of temperance teaches us that anything in excess, even kindness, becomes a vice. When you give too much, you are not being virtuous. You are being reckless with the life that the universe lent to you. You are a steward of your energy, not a bottomless well. Imagine you have 10 coins of energy every morning. If you give 8 of them to people who don't even say thank you, and 1 to your job, you have 1 coin left for your own dreams, your own peace, and your own family. That is not a life. That is a slow-motion suicide. The Stoic cure is to build an inner citadel. This is a place inside you that no one else can touch, no one else can demand from, and no one else can occupy. You must start by practicing the art of the clean no. Not a no followed by 1,000 excuses. Not a no that sounds like an apology. Just a no. When you explain why you can't do something, you are giving the predator a handle to grab onto. You are giving them a reason to negotiate. But when you simply state your boundary, you are reclaiming your status as a sovereign human being. You will feel a wave of guilt the first time you do this. That guilt is the sound of your old, enslaved self dying. Let it die. It was a version of you that was built to serve others, and it has served its purpose. It is time for you to become the diamond, not the hammer. A hammer is useful for everything, and because of that, it is kept in a dark drawer and beaten against nails. A diamond is useless for building a house. It cannot drive a screw. It cannot hold up a roof. Its utility is almost zero, and yet it is the most highly valued substance on the planet. Why? Because it is rare. Because it is beautiful. Because it is unapologetically itself. Stop trying to be the hammer that builds everyone else's home while your own walls are crumbling. Start being the diamond that simply exists in its own brilliant light. The people who truly value you will not care what you can do for them. They will simply want to be near your light. Ask yourself this final, piercing question as you look into the mirror of your own exhaustion. If you lost everything today, your money, your skills, and your ability to do favors, who would still be standing next to you? That small group, or perhaps that total silence, is the only truth that matters. Everything else was just a transaction. Class dismissed. Think about the moon. It does not provide the heat for the harvest. It does not make the plants grow. It does not offer a place to live. It is a cold, distant rock that does absolutely nothing for the daily survival of humanity. And yet, it moves the entire ocean. It commands the tides of the world just by being there. You don't need to be a servant to be powerful. You just need to have enough gravity to move what matters. Stop being the bridge, start being the moon. Be still, be distant if you must. But never again be small for the sake of people who only want to use you as a shortcut. The world will survive without your constant intervention. The question is, will you survive without your constant need to intervene? The surgery is over. The wound is deep, but it is clean. Now, go and live a life that belongs to you. No one is coming to save the savior. You have to save yourself. Goodbye for now. Wait. Do not turn away just yet. There is one last layer of this skin we must peel back. You might be sitting there thinking that you can slowly transition, that you can gently start saying no. But the darkness of human nature doesn't work that way. When a host starts to reject a parasite, the parasite does not simply leave. It bites down harder. The people who have been using you will not congratulate you on your new boundaries. They will label you. They will call you selfish. They will say you have changed. They will tell everyone that you are going through a difficult time or that you have become cold. This is the final test of your sovereignty. Can you stand the heat of being misunderstood? Can you handle being the bad guy in the eyes of the people who are eating your life force for breakfast? If you cannot handle their disapproval, you are still their slave. Their opinion is the chain, and your fear of it is the lock. To truly break free, you must realize that their anger is actually a compliment. It is proof that your service was valuable, and they are terrified of losing their free ride. Let them be angry. Let them gossip. Let them find another bridge. You are busy building a kingdom where you are the only king. You are finally coming home to yourself, and the house is quiet, and the house is peaceful. And for the first time in your life, the house is yours. Now, truly, go, and do not look back.